Hello, I'm Stephen Dracup. I'm the COO at Chess, and today we're going to be having a session about why projects fail. And I'm pleased to say that I'm joined by a couple of colleagues of mine. I've got Mark and we've got Colin. So would you guys like to introduce yourselves and what you do at Chess?
I'll go first, Colin. Yep, certainly. My name is Mark Heritage. I'm the technical architect team lead here at Chess. You may not think it, but I've been working in IT for over 25 years now, from working in and leading teams, both within a support and a professional service capacity.
Fantastic. Colin?
Hi, my name's Colin Aikenhead. I'm one of the Microsoft consultants at Chess, and you would believe it, but I have been working for 30 years in IT. I started off as a COBOL analyst programmer. I've been Microsoft qualified, first of all as a network engineer 24 years ago, and I saw the light in 2010 and adopted the cloud. So I'm currently an enterprise expert in 365 technology, a Microsoft certified trainer, but an important aspect I believe in adopting technology is change management. So I'm a ProSci change management practitioner.
Fantastic, and we'll get to that in a minute, I think. Okay, so before we get into sort of the detail of this, I think it's important that we set out what we think project failure actually is. So, Mark, I think you've got some thoughts on that, and then Colin, if you feel like chipping in, help yourself.
Yeah, I think there's many reasons why you would class a project as failing. For me, I think the key ones are certainly when a project isn't delivered in budget, on time, and I guess when it's not delivered to the expected or perceived satisfaction by the customer. Building on that, I'd also say that obviously if it doesn't meet the ROI, which was first defined during the business objectives, I think then that's definitely classed as a failure as well.
So yeah, obviously getting the return on investment on the technology that you're investing in is important.
Yes, without a doubt.
Yes, and in order to achieve that, you have to come up with realistic timelines. You have to make sure that the technology is tried and tested, because if you're using cutting edge technology, then that can add risk to the project.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
I suppose if you look at a project, you know what failure looks like. How do you go about minimising and mitigating that risk of failure within a project?
Well, I think the first thing you'd need to do obviously is the scoping. I think that's key. Obviously spending time with the customer, understanding what their objectives are, working with them, engaging with them, and obviously making sure that the technology that they're trying to adopt kind of meets the strategic goal of the business as well. And then I guess once that conversation has been had, the delivery is obviously key as well. So making sure we've got skilled people doing the right things, obviously in terms of deployment. And then obviously what we here at Chess do obviously is we engage project management team who can help kind of bridge the gap between the technical team and obviously become that communications with the customer.
Yes, no, I would agree with you. I think an important part of it is to have the relevant skilled people who have used the technology before and are able to adapt it to the particular situations of the customer.
Yeah, definitely. And I think change and risk management is also key as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think also accreditation is quite an important part of getting that skill set.
Yes.
And we're very lucky to have a really good team of people at Chess who have got a high level of accreditation across all of, in particular, Microsoft solution partnerships.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we sort of think about, you mentioned project management a minute ago.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about project management and how important that is within this process.
Well, again, I'd say it's definitely key. These days, projects are very complex. There's a lot of moving parts. I mean, there's many third parties, products and services involved. So having a project management team or a project manager involved definitely helps in terms of taking that kind of admin, if we call it, away from the technical team, allow them to concentrate on the technical delivery. And obviously the project manager is key for being the communications with the customer, as well as resource planning, ordering of kit and services. And just generally ensuring that the customer is kept up to date every step of the way.
Yeah, I sort of noticed in my time, I think the challenge is when you try and get technical people to do everything, it turns out that many of them are not that great at project management. And so having a group of people around that person so they can express themselves on the technical aspects of things whilst making sure that the obvious stuff also gets done. And as you say, I think communication is absolutely vital. There's lots of stakeholders at the customers who need to be kept informed, because this project will probably form part of a wider project within their organisation. So, we need to be aware of their dependencies as well, don't we, to make sure that our bit of it might only just be part of the bigger schema.
Yeah, and I think technical people as well, they're very technical, but sometimes they might not be the best communicators. So having somebody outside of that realm to feed back to the customer as and when required, I think is key.
Yeah, and keep an eye on things as well, because I know there's a book called Black Box Thinking which talks about this by Matthew Syed, if you want to read it, but basically it talks about how people can get very focused on trying to fix the problem and not realise there's all sorts of other stuff going on around them whilst they're doing it. And sometimes they need to be sort of brought back into the real world to say, hang on a minute, maybe put that one down and pick up the next one, because that's not progressing fast enough and other people need other things to happen as you're going along.
But I think the key as well is that it's more than just terminology, but it's not a project administrator, it's a project manager.
Yeah.
And I think all the best project managers are managers who are able to communicate at all levels but have some form of authority, rather than just drawing up project plans and resource plans and saying, oh, you're over budget, but they're able to take control of the project.
Yeah, I think real world experience in terms of how to deal with different types of people is really important. I mean, we do get quite a lot of accreditations in terms of prints and things like that through our PM team. But on the other hand, I think all of them are very used to dealing with lots of different types of projects. And actually all of that team have been in the business a long time and are quite experienced with not only working with the customer, but oftentimes just knowing your engineering team is really important, isn't it? Particularly, if you have lots of turnover in people in a business, we're lucky not to have so much. But if you do have lots of turnover, then new people coming into your culture, you've got to kind of bring them up to speed and keep an eye on the new ones particularly. And we were talking, Colin, you mentioned ProC a minute ago. Let's talk a little bit about adoption and change management and why, the implementation isn't just all what it's all about.
Well, I think especially if it's a project which involves a lot of human interaction with the technology, then some sort of adoption and change management methodology is vital.
Can you just, before we get to the methodology, just explain what adoption and change management actually means to a customer?
Well, what it means is ensuring that the people who are adopting the technology are aware of why they're doing it and are fully skilled on it and are on board. ProSci is both a research organisation as well as a company that produces methodology, and based on their research they've estimated that for projects that involve user adoption, maybe not so much technical projects like changing a firewall or something like that, but say adopting a new system, you're 6 times more likely to achieve your return on investments by using an adoption and change management methodology. Chess decided to go for ProSci because that was the one that Microsoft recommended to us, and 80% of Fortune 100 companies actually use the ProSci methodology. And as I say, it's there to make sure it doesn't only just cover the user, it also covers the organisation, whether or not it's prepared for change, whether or not it's got the structure for change, and whether or not it's got the people from the top down who are willing to accept the change.
And I think, if you think about us as an organisation, we run this sort of change adoption methodology where we consult, deliver, adopt and support with our customers. What's important to us is that, frankly, people buy more off you if your projects work. And so often when you're a senior manager like I am, what you think is the best idea in the world never gets adopted properly within your own organisation, because the people who are supposedly going to use it don't see what's in it for them. And I think that the whole kind of ProC thing is to try to get into the heads of the people who are going to use the stuff, to try and make sure that they understand what's in it for them, isn't it, fundamentally?
Well, there is an acronym which is used by ProSci, which you can be used in any projects, it's just not technological projects, and the acronym is ADCA, and it's hierarchical, and if you get a barrier at one of the higher levels, then there's not much point moving down to the lower levels. So A stands for awareness. So why are we implementing this project? So that something like Teams Voice, that Chess is very good at implementing. Are we doing it just because we fancy a new phone system? Or is it because we're introducing unified communications, because 2025 is just around the corner? The next stage is desire. What's in it for me? So if you've got, say, an old antiquated system which isn't documented and one person is the expert in that, they're not wanting to lose their status. So you have to be able to then show the benefits of adopting the new system. Next stage is then knowledge. So you then have to train people, ideally just before it goes live. But it's not just enough to send people on a training course. The next stage is an A, which is ability, to make sure that people have actually learned how to adopt it. And if there's problems there, you can then use one-to-one coaching, or you can use super users. And then the last bit, which is important with cloud technology, is reinforcement. Because as you know yourself, Microsoft Teams, we get new updates, it seems like every week or something like this, and this button's moved over there. So it's important to have methodologies and technologies like Cloud Adopt that we have to be able to allow people to cope with change in cloud technologies. Going back 20 years, you get Office 2003 and you get a service pack once every 6 months or a year or something like that, whereas Office 365 is changing periodically every week, if not every month.
So I suppose the final element to this that we were going to talk about was about how important support is. Which kind of, it talks to your point you've just made, but in terms of getting some form of support from your suppliers, in terms of how that makes a project work as well.
Well, as I say, with cloud technology, it's updating all the time. It's important to have people who are qualified keep up to date with Microsoft technology. We have a platform called Cloud Adopt, which is based on very short videos telling people about all the new processes, all the new features within Microsoft 365. The other aspect about 365 is that there's lots of features that come with a subscription that a lot of our customers don't use, like Forms, like Sway, like Delve and things like that. And obviously with AI coming in, Copilot is about to be released to big customers, it'll be released to smaller customers next year. So it's important that we keep ourselves skilled in all the new technology, and all of people like Mark's engineers.
I think that it also kind of, falls back to the ROI we discussed as well. Obviously, new technology, making sure you're getting the most out of that technology and using it as the new features are released.
Well, I think obviously if you look at, we have talked a little bit about Microsoft 365. This applies to Azure or, all the other products and services that we do. But take 365, the difference between E5 license and an E3 license is quite a lot across a large organization on a monthly basis. So you need to make sure you're either using it properly and fully, or you need to downgrade your licenses, don't you?
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have put in an E5 license or thought you needed one unless you were going to try to deploy the collaboration stuff and all the benefits that it brings to you. So if people aren't actually using it properly, you're wasting your money. I think the obvious thing is to fall back to a lower price, but the best thing is probably to look at why people aren't using the full capability of the product and driving that through. And that goes back to your R in the whole of your Akbar model.
Yes, and the other part of it could be that people have got an E3 license and they're buying all these add-ons. So therefore something like a license review or something like that can actually help your return on investment in a project.
So when I was talking to Virtual One yesterday, they were talking about tuning, which I think is very much what we're talking about here, isn't it? It's tuning what you bought on the basis of experience. So not seeing it as a kind of big waterfall project where ta-da, it's delivered, but see it as a sort of ongoing tuning exercise to get, like your car, to try and get more out of it if you were in the Formula One team. Cool, well I think that's the sort of main bits that we wanted to cover. So I just thought it'd be useful to say that obviously, this is a 15-minute chat. Hopefully you found it useful. If you have and you want to know more about this, we're running follow-up sessions on all of this. So I think there's a QR code going on the back of this video where if you scan it, you can book a consultation with Colin or Mark or one of the team. And obviously I think there's lots of other sessions that we're running that sort of this kind of methodology applies to over the rest of the FIT conference. So just thank you guys for coming and talking. Thank you people, the customer, for watching, and hopefully found this useful. Thank you very much.